NBC4 News at 5 starts with breaking news.
That breaking news out of Ladera Heights. That's where a crash and a shooting are being investigated.
This all happened just before 3 o'clock at Fairfax and Stalker. We know that 3 people were injured and one of them had to be pulled out with the jaws of life. We're still trying to learn more on how they are doing. We're also trying to figure out how a shooting may have tied into all of this. Stalker between Fairfax and La Cienega remains closed as investigators continue their work.
Our other top story, it's one of hip-hop's biggest mysteries. More than 27 years ago, Tupac Shakur was shot to death in Las Vegas. People have speculated who could have done it, but no arrests have been made until today. Good evening, I'm Annabelle Sedano.
And I'm Jonathan Gonzalez. Colleen is off tonight. Prosecutors say the man ordered Tupac's murder back in 1996, and today law enforcement updated the public on who he is. Our investigative reporter Eric Leonard joining us live now from our News Operations Center with the very latest. Eric.
Hi, Jonathan and Annabelle. Well, police in Las Vegas tell us that a grand jury there returned an indictment against a man from Southern California who allegedly for a time was in charge of a street gang in Compton. Well, Dwayne Davis, known as Keefe D, is now charged with murder, and police and prosecutors in Las Vegas say his own words did him in.
These booking and arrest photos of Dwayne Davis, just released by the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department after detectives arrested Davis this morning.
This is the indictment we've been waiting almost 3 decades for. It spells out the facts and circumstances.
Clark County, Nevada District Attorney Steve Wolfson says Davis faces 1 count of murder with an enhancement that the murder was committed to benefit a street gang. Authorities say Davis was a leader, or so-called shot caller, of the Southside Compton Crips at the time, and detectives say Shakur's murder in September of 1996 was motivated by a gang rivalry and revenge. It happened just off the Vegas Strip, hours after a member of that gang was beaten up by a member of Shakur's entourage in the lobby of the MGM Grand. Davis was allegedly one of 4 men in a Cadillac that pulled alongside the BMW Shakur was riding in, and one of the other men, not Davis, began shooting.
In this case, the only living suspect related to this investigation is Dwayne Davis. All other 3 suspects are deceased.
Detectives say Davis's public statements about his involvement, including several interviews posted to YouTube and in a self-published book, matched what investigators had learned about the murder decades ago. Then, in July, police searched Davis's home in Henderson, Nevada, and according to court documents, found more things Davis allegedly wrote about the shooting.
We obtained information or evidence during that execution of that search warrant that corroborated information obtained through our investigation.
So while detectives say they know for a fact Davis did not fire the gun that night, they say he created the plan, orchestrated the scheme that led to the shooting, and was the person who got the handgun that particular night. And Davis has been ordered by a judge to be held in jail with no bail until another hearing. The authorities out in Las Vegas say they reached out to Tupac Shakur's family. They told them of the arrest, and they say family members were pleased to hear about it. Live in the News Operations Center, I'm investigative reporter Eric Leonard, NBC4 News. Back to you.
All right, Eric, thank you very much for that. Meantime, the longest-serving woman in the U.S. Senate has died. California Senator Dianne Feinstein was 90 years old. And today, tributes are pouring in from across the country and on Capitol Hill.
Our Conan Nolan joining us now. And Conan, we know you've been covering Feinstein's career now the past 30 years, especially as senator. You've gotten the chance to sit down with her many times. And let's just talk about her legacy. Incredible. And then also what happens next?
Right. That's a very good question. Her legacy, I have to tell you, so many people who are talking about the fact she is a throwback in the era of tribal politics where compromise is a dirty word. Dianne Feinstein was different. Her job, she believed, was to get things done for the people of her state and nation. That goal and how she approached it resulted in a remarkable tenure in public office and a legacy for California.
It was one last act in service to the state she loved and served. Yesterday's Senate vote to keep the federal government funded.
Mrs. Feinstein. Mrs. Feinstein, aye.
Today, her seat was draped in a memorial shroud and flowers. Stunned colleagues didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Profound sadness that we bid farewell to an outright champion for the state of California, Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Her career was born amidst tragedy. In 1978, Dianne Feinstein, then the president of the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, responded to shots heard in an adjacent office at City Hall and discovered the body of fellow supervisor Harvey Milk. He had been assassinated, as had been the mayor, George Moscone.
Both Mayor Moscone and Supervisor Harvey Milk have been shot and killed.
Feinstein held the city together, serving as its mayor for 10 years. Then, following a failed race for governor, ascended to the world's most deliberative body.
Thank you.
In 1992, being elected as the first woman to represent California in the United States Senate, sworn in just months before colleague Barbara Boxer.
People respected and loved her and trusted her. She was a one of a kind.
She quickly became a force on Capitol Hill, championing gun control, authoring the first assault weapons ban, legislation aimed at ending discrimination against the gay community. Later, as head of the Senate Intelligence Committee, she took on the CIA's interrogation techniques, all the while championing her home state.
If you operate these trains, you have to provide for their safety.
There was positive train control, safety technology for Metrolink's problem train system, subway funding, immigration reform, water rights, women's reproductive rights. Her legislation established the Death Valley and Joshua Tree National Parks and protected 8 million acres of the California desert. Feinstein was well known for seeking consensus. GOP House Speaker Kevin McCarthy.
Even coming from a different party, inspired women from both sides of the aisle to seek elected office.
But there was one Republican whom which she could not engage. In her last sit-down interview, Feinstein spoke of her distaste for the partisanship and divisiveness of then-President Donald Trump.
The things he says, the demeaning, the name-calling, I don't like the divisiveness. I don't like the result of the divisiveness. Bring people together. It's unify this great country into one force for good.
A goal demonstrative of the character of the woman herself. Dianne Feinstein, one of the most popular political figures in California history, was 90 years old.
And that was without question. Not only did she lose only 3 elections in her career, 2 for mayor initially, every political poll over the past 3 decades indicated Dianne Feinstein was respected and admired by millions of Californians, regardless of their political party.
You know, Conan, we were speaking with Congresswoman Barbara Lee earlier. We were just sharing this story. She talked about on a major issue, she went against Dianne Feinstein, and Dianne actually painted her some orchids, and she still has that painting to this day. So even when she disagreed with someone, that truly is her legacy, something we just don't see as much anymore.
Right, and by the way, she offered paintings not just to Democrats, but to Republicans, too. I had a former House member send me a text about the painting he got from her.
Wow.
She was a consensus builder, and she knew politics is about personal relationships. And one other aspect to politics in Washington, if she said she was with you, she was with you. That never changed. And your word is your bond, and that's one of the reasons why she was so popular there.
She was so popular because she, unlike so many, were able to unite the different parties, right?
Right.
And so now, looking forward, I mean, is there somebody out there who is able to do that?
You know, it's a very different political atmosphere these days, that's for sure. And she sort of talked to us about it back in 2018 with Donald Trump. I don't know. The governor has a conundrum here. He has promised to nominate to appoint an African-American woman, a black woman. However, he doesn't want to appoint Barbara Lee, who was the natural, she was the one everybody expected would get this appointment, until all of a sudden she ran for the office. He doesn't want to put his thumb on but time is running out. I mean, he has to get an appointment. Next week you will see somebody, because Democrats have a 1-vote majority right now, and the government's about to shut down.
Yeah, with a shutdown looming Sunday night. Conan, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Our coverage of Senator Feinstein's death will continue at 5:30 as well as 6 o'clock. For a look back at her legendary career, we have a section devoted to her on our website, NBCLA.com.
Meantime, former President Donald Trump just wrapped his keynote speech at the California GOP convention. Trump's speech in Southern California comes 2 days after he skipped his party's second presidential debate at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley. NBC4's Alex Rozier was in the room for Trump's speech today, and he joins us live with the latest. Alex.
And the former president spoke for about an hour and a half to a sold-out crowd of about 1,500 people at the Anaheim Marriott, and he spoke of what he views as the broken state of this country, and of course, he had a few words to say about Joe Biden.
Does anybody think he's going to make it to the starting gate? I mean, the guy can't find his way off of a stage. Look, here's a stage. Here's a stage. I've never seen this stupid stage before. Right? I've never seen it. But if I walk left, there's a stair. And if I walk right, there's a stair. And this guy gets up. Where am I?
This is President Trump's first time back at the California GOP convention since 2016, and he isn't the only Republican presidential hopeful speaking today. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott spoke, and same with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who will be here tonight. Polls show President Trump with a big lead, however, over his Republican rivals, so he didn't spend much time talking about them, but he did spend time attacking people like Nancy Pelosi and Governor Gavin Newsom and other leaders here in California.
But while California was once a symbol of American success, today under the radical left fascists and Marxists that run your state, that's who's running your state. Bad people. It's becoming a symbol of our nation's decline. Gavin Newsom and the far left communists in Sacramento.
And of course, that's President Trump's assessment of the situation. But while the president spoke, several supporters gathered outside the Anaheim Marriott, and there were people with Trump flags, hats, signs. Though inside on the convention grounds, there were some signs for some of his rivals, including Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. But as I mentioned, he really didn't spend much time talking about any of his in-party opponents, instead looking forward to what he believes will be a race against the current president, Joe Biden, in 2024. And I will point out that in his speech today, there was no mention of the passing of Senator Dianne Feinstein. Reporting live in Anaheim, I'm Alex Rozier, NBC4 News.
All right, Alex, thank you very much for that update. And still to come, caught on camera, a driver losing control and crashing into a home. Where did this happen?
Plus, sealing the deal, the actors hoping to come to a resolution like the writers did this last week, when they'll sit down next and try to carve out an end to this strike.
And it feels like fall in the Inland Empire. A lot of people are embracing the fun that comes with the season. That story's coming up next.
And we are looking at a live picture outside right now from our Mount Wilson camera. Lots of clouds across our region. Temperatures today are much cooler, only in the 60s and 70s. It gets colder as we head into our weekend with the threat of some showers. Details coming out with your first alert forecast.
After a long, hot summer, it's finally starting to feel a little bit more like fall. The temperatures are starting to drop, making it a little chillier overnight.
Exactly. And if you haven't already noticed, pumpkin patches are starting to pop up all over Southern California. NBC4's Tony Shin is live in Murrieta, where people are enjoying this change of season. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Jonathan and Annabelle, I tell you what, nothing says fall like a good old-fashioned pumpkin patch. And I gotta tell you, I think I'm at one of the best in Riverside County. Take a look at this place. It is massive. It's got rides for the kids. It's got food for everyone. And of course, there are a lot of pumpkins out here, ready to carve.
Ready, girl? At Seasonal Adventures Pumpkin Patch in Murrieta, workers are busy putting the finishing touches on this family-owned fall favorite.
It's a really special time for me, especially it's a bonding time to meet new people with my dad. That's what's important to me about it. We're like a family here.
Rachel Beatty's family has been providing pumpkin patches all over Southern California for roughly 40 years. She says each fall is just as special as the one before.
It's exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, though. You know, we have a lot to do in a very short amount of time.
They just got their pumpkins in this morning, and there are a lot of them. Mostly orange, but some green.
I do like the green ones.
Why is that?
I just think they're pretty. Some of them look like watermelons. I don't know. I like them when they don't look like pumpkins.
Tori Rikus works in the ticket booth. She's not a big fan of the cooler weather, but she still loves this time of year because of all the people she will meet.
I love having the kids around on the pumpkin patch and the seasons, the pumpkin carving, Halloween, trick-or-treating.
Speaking of Halloween, stores are already stocked up with all the supplies needed to make this Halloween extra spooktacular.
He says it's something that glows at night, and it's called a glow stick, and I was like, what is glow stick?
It took trips to several different stores, but Dulce Rodriguez was finally able to find a costume in Lake Elsinore for her 7-year-old son. Basically, he'll be dressed as a human glow stick.
At first I thought it was kind of weird, but but once he tried it on, you know what? It was really cool.
Cool is definitely a perfect word to describe what it feels like as we fall into fall. A wonderful transition from those hot summer days to those crisp autumn nights.
We have our regular customers, our new customers, our family, our friends, and I just hope to see people come out here.
Wow, I tell you what, the wind is starting to pick up right now, and I'm regretting not putting on a light jacket because it is starting to get a little bit chilly. Now, Rachel says once Halloween is all over, guess what this lot is going to be transformed into? If you guessed a Christmas lot, you would be right. It's going to be filled with trees. I guess it's that time of the year. Reporting live in Marietta, I'm Tony Shin, NBC4 News.
Tony, Melissa guessed correctly. You'd be proud. Thank you so much, Tony. All right. Let's stay outside as we take a live look.